What is going on, everybody? We are back with Quick Thoughts. Once again, another Quick Thoughts video on the Lots of Thoughts, a sports podcast YouTube channel. It's been a while, and I want to talk about women's basketball, something I haven't talked about a lot on this platform. I'm definitely, I would say, a casual WNBA fan. I'm not watching every game. I'm watching the primetime games. I'm watching my New York Liberty, who I think have a real shot at, once again, at winning the cup this year. Um, so I'm not going to say I'm an expert on the sport, but I like to talk about it, and I think it's such a news story nowadays for BS reasons that I think it's worth talking about. And before I start this, I like Caitlin Clark as a player. I think she's an incredible, I mean, she's the best college player of all time, in my opinion. And the stats kind of show that, right? And NCAA's all-time leading scorer for men's or women's basketball. She's an incredible player. She's going to have a very bright future in the WNBA, and I could easily see her as one of the more marketable stars over the next 10 to 15 years. She has the potential to be a great player in this league. But the conversation around her from mainstream media, from reactionists, from people who just want to incite anger and false rhetoric drives me up the wall. Listen, at the end of the day, she's a rookie. She's first overall pick. And rookies, no matter who they are, LeBron James wasn't the best player in the NBA in his first year. Tom Brady wasn't the best player in the NBA in the NFL in his first year. He didn't even play. He didn't even start. He came in for Drew Bledsoe. We all know the story. You could go on and on about draft picks. I use Tom Brady as probably a bad example because he was a late draft pick, but pick the early pick you want. Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was awful his rookie year. I believe he had more interceptions than touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I mean, obviously baseball is another conversation because they spend so long in the minor leagues. But it's just really come to a head that everybody is making Caitlin Clark's experience in the WNBA, the bad experience, I guess you could say it's been so far, about everything but basketball. And it's really, really irritating to me. I want to start with some comments I've seen online. Um, First of all, I think it really started several weeks back with Caitlin Clark and kind of her competition with Angel Reese and what's driving women to watch the NBA, WNBA rather. What's driving fans to watch the WNBA, both genders, right? All genders. I shouldn't say both genders, all genders. Um, at the end of the day, sure, Caitlin Clark's a large part of that, but I think the rookie class in general is a really good one. Cameron Brink in LA is tearing it up. Angel Reese obviously has been very good this year, averaging a double-double, only rookie to do that. Kalia Cooper. I mean, sorry, Camila Cardoso, mixing up names here. I'm going to talk about Kalia Cooper in a little bit. There's been good rookie performers throughout the WNBA. And Caitlin Clark, she's been kind of inefficient. She's turned the ball over. If we're just looking at her pure stats, as of right now, she's played in 14 games. She's got a 367 field goal percentage, a 322 3-point percentage. That's a 472 effective field goal percentage, 897 from the free throw line. What about 5 total rebounds per game, 6 assists per game, 1.4 steals per game, about a block per game, 5.5 turnovers per game. And that number's gone down. She was really high on that turnovers. She's getting a lot of assists, but she's turning the ball over a lot. For a frame of reference, if you look at some of the premier point guards in the NBA, 2-to-1 is about their turnover ratio, and she's about 1-to-1 right now. But I mean, it's a rookie season. There's nothing wrong with it. And the Fever are not a good team, right? They had the first overall pick for a reason. Now there's a lottery, of course, but they're a very bad team. They're not the worst team in the WNBA. I'd say the Mystics are there right now. But they're right there. They're close. And Caitlin Clark has certainly made them better, I think, despite her struggles. But there's no pressure on her to succeed right away. But everything has to be about who's holding her back, who's giving her physical fouls. I mean, I'm going to go through some tweets here, and we're going to get to the her not making the Olympic team in the minute. But some quotes here. This one's from Pat McAfee, who I think makes really a lot of good content and has done really an interesting amount of good work for the overall sports and entertainment industry. But a quote he had about the WNBA is just incredible, incredibly stupid. Quote, I would like the media people that continue to say this rookie class, this rookie class, this rookie class. Nah, just call it what it is. There's one white leap for the Indiana team who is a superstar. And it's because she stayed at Iowa and put an entire state on her back and took a program from nothing to a multiple year success story. Is it because she would go on to break the entire points record in the history of the NCAA? Not just the women's record by Kelsey Plum, but also Pistol Pete Maravich's dude's record as well. It just drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts that we sit here and we say, as people who don't watch a lot of the WNBA, I'm not going to get on here and say that I'm an expert in the WNBA. I'm not going to say I know significantly more than anybody that's watching my video. There's fans that I know that are way more dedicated to this league and watch way more women's basketball, and good for them. But at the end of the day, it takes like 30 seconds to figure out why that statistically doesn't make sense. Why people like the aforementioned Cameron Brink and Angel Reese arguably have been having better seasons than Caitlin Clark. And sure, Caitlin Clark's probably more marketable, probably going to get more eyes on the court. But even the quote of even the quote of she was the only one carrying Iowa. I mean, we're just ignoring the fact that Kate Martin, who, some people didn't think was going to get drafted in the WNBA, but came in and got drafted to the Vegas Aces and been playing quite well. Has been having an experience with the Vegas Aces, the reigning back-to-back world champions. It's not often that a rookie in the WNBA, nevertheless a late pick, comes in and makes an impact for a team that's so good. So, I mean, they haven't been that good this year, if we're being serious. But, they're a very talented roster, right? A'ja Wilson, probably the best player in the world right now. You could debate between her and Breanna Stewart, but I'm not going to do that here. Breanna Stewart, sorry. And then, there's this situation with the Olympic team. And it's gotten to the point where there's just so many people complaining that just don't watch women's basketball based on what you hear. So the roster, I'm going to run through it real quick. Nafisa Collier from the Minnesota Lynx, Kalia Cooper from the Phoenix Mercury, Chelsea Gray from the Aces, Brittany Griner from the Mercury, Sabrina Ionescu from the Liberty, Jewel Lloyd from the Storm, Kelsey Plum from the Aces, Breanna Stewart from the Liberty, Diana Taurasi from the Mercury, Alyssa Thomas from the Sun, A'ja Wilson from the Aces, Jackie Young from the Aces. So the youngest player they brought, I believe, is 26. Let me see. Sabrina's 26. Jackie Young's 26, which, wow, it feels like she's been in the league longer. Yeah, Collier's 27. Yeah, so 26 years old. So they're not bringing young people. This is not a situation where they bring, Leitner on the dream team, like I've been getting in Instagram comments, just to see him mature. They bring players who they think can make an impact, and they brought the 12 best players in the WNBA. I don't think it's really that close. And all the comments I've seen are, why are you bringing Diana Taurasi? Why are you bringing Brittany Griner? And we could sit here and have a conversation about Diana Taurasi being a better player than Caitlin Clark this season. Diana Taurasi is 42 years old, right? She's probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest WNBA player of all time. But this season, she's been significantly better than Caitlin Clark, and I just don't think it's close. On significantly more shots, well, let's just go through. So points per game, she's got about 1.5 over Caitlin Clark. Her field goal percentage is higher. Her 2-point percentage is a little bit lower. Her 3-point percentage is higher, which is what Caitlin Clark is good at, by the way. Her effective field goal percentage is significantly higher. Her free throw percentage is around the same. Total rebounds around the same. Assists are a little bit lower, but that's not Taurasi's game, and that's not the position she's going to be playing, and that's not the position Caitlin's going to be playing either. She's playing in the Olympics. Turnovers 1.7 to 5.5. Now, Diana Taurasi assist to turnover ratio is about 1-to-1. It's actually more assists than turnovers, 1.8 to 1.7. Listen, at the end of the day, does Diana Taurasi have a better case than Caitlin Clark? I think so. But if you think no, statistically, I don't think it's absolutely stupid. I think you're wrong. But Diana Taurasi, in the same way, is also the veteran that you keep around because she's been to 6 Olympics, because she's going to be the best leader this team could ask for. Because at the end of the day, even though you probably love the coaching staff that you have in place, whether it's Cheryl Reeve or, any of the assistants that have their accolades, you want the veteran, right? LeBron's going to the Olympic team not because he's the best player in the league or he's, determined to be one of the best starters in the league. No, he's going to the Olympic team because he's LeBron James. And sure, he's still a very good player and he probably does. I know he deserves to be on the Olympic team no matter what. But you bring Diana Taurasi because it's Diana Taurasi. Not just because of the fact that she probably has the statistical edge anyway. And then, the idea, I mean, that's Diana Taurasi. And like I said, the other comment is, you should take Brittany Griner off the roster and bring on Caitlin Clark. And anybody who says this has no comprehension of the game of basketball, not just women's basketball. They are either stupid, they haven't looked at the roster for more than 10 seconds, or they have no comprehension of the game of basketball. Because all it takes, I'm going to go back to that list that I just read of the players on the Olympic team. And I'm going to read their heights only. Okay? And you're going to play this with me. Even if you don't know the WNBA, you probably know how tall various positions are if you're on this channel. Roughly. Even in the NBA. Collier, 6'1". Cooper, not Copper, sorry. I keep saying Copper. I keep saying Cooper, Copper rather. 6'1". Chelsea Gray, 5'11". Ionescu, 5'11". Lloyd, 5'10". Plum, 5'8". Stewart, 6'4". So we got the tallest one so far. Stewart at 6'4". Taurasi, 6 foot. Alyssa Thomas, 6'2". Wilson, 6'5". So we got another 6'5". 2 6'5 so far. Jackie Young, 6 foot. Caitlin Clark's like what, 6'2", 6'3"? The tallest person is 6'5", and now we have Brittany Griner at 6'9". The only true center we've ever talked about here. Now, I think A'ja Wilson probably should start at center just because she's the best player on the planet. You start at power forward, you move Breanna Stewart down to small forward, and I think the roster construction is probably not the best there. I think you probably start A'ja Wilson at center just because that's the best talent you could put out there. But getting rid of your only true center and making your only two possible players to play center are 6'5". Who's the next tallest player I mentioned? 6'3", 6'2", Alyssa Thomas. And Alyssa Thomas is not a center if you watch any women's basketball. Yeah, she's the tallest by far. So it's just laughable. You either haven't looked at the players and their heights, you don't understand how centers work at basketball and how important having a true center is, or you're just dumb. You're just dumb. And I can't stand people who feel they need to give their opinion about it. That brings me to Nikki Haley, who's adult already, by the way. I'll say it on this platform. She's adult. She comes on here and says, let me get this straight. No player on the Olympic team has scored more three-pointers this year in the WNBA than Caitlin Clark. And only one woman on the Olympic team has more assists than Clark this WNBA season. And the U.S. is not going to include her on the Olympic team. Well, yes, Nikki Haley. Let me ask you a question. If I ran onto the court real quick and I shot 100 threes in a game, they just kept feeding me from half court. And, I was open, so I made 10, right? I don't think I'm going to make 10. Let's say I make 5, right? And then you put Steph Curry on the court, the greatest shooter in the history of basketball. And you give him 3 half-court shots, and he makes all 3. Who do you think's a better three-point shooter? I'll let you sit on that for a second. Who do you think's a better three-point shooter? Me, who made 5 out of 100, or him, who made 3 out of 3? Even if you had no information about the two people shooting, you didn't know it was Steph Curry versus me, who was incredibly unathletic and never played organized basketball, it's the guy who shot 3 of 3 because you're not stupid. And so whoever makes the most threes is great. You made a lot of threes. That's excellent, right? Steph Curry has made the most threes all time. It's not because he's taken 30 a game. It's because he's the greatest three-point shooter in the history of basketball. So frankly, using total threes made as a benchmark for who should make the Olympic team is idiotic. And then she says, I think the Olympics selection committee should be asked, do we want the best team to represent our country or not? First of all, punctuation was a mess. No quotes around that. Do we want the best team to represent our country or not? You do. You do. That's why you don't include Caitlin Clark on the roster. She's going to be in the Olympics. The next time it rolls around, she'll be 25. She'll be probably still the youngest player on the team. she'll be in the Olympics. She'll probably be in 3, 4 Olympics for the USA. And she'll probably do well when she becomes that good of a player. There's no shade in saying that she's just not there yet. And to say she is just shows you don't watch the game you're trying to talk about. And mainstream media, I mean, guys like Matt Leinart saying Angel Reese should be suspended because of a hard foul on Caitlin Clark when she went for the ball and hit her in the head, or CNN covering that hard foul. I mean, it just is so lost. The game of basketball is so lost when we're having these discussions. And I'm not going to shame anybody for not talking about the WNBA before this year or not watching the WNBA before this year. You know, shoot, I didn't watch the WNBA before a few years ago when Sabrina Ionescu went #1 overall to my New York Liberty. But I sure as hell didn't sit here with the limited knowledge on this platform or any platform, with the limited knowledge I had of the game, and say that other people are making poor decisions, or other people should be choosing Caitlin Clark on the Olympic team because you need to market the team. No, you need to pick the best 12 players for the Olympic team. It's not a popularity contest. It's the best basketball team our country can put out to win gold medals. And if you don't get that, I'm sorry. The Olympics don't need Caitlin Clark to market. I promise you they're fine. I promise you the Olympics are doing quite well in the national and international spectrum of TV rankings. We're just losing the whole point of talking basketball. And frankly, it wouldn't be this way if it was the men's game. You know, we didn't say LeBron came into the league and got rough treatment because of his race. No, but people say, excuse me, my phone cord keeps cutting out. We didn't say LeBron came into the NBA and got poor treatment because of his race. No, even though it's probably more true than Caitlin Clark. But at the end of the day, we say it about the women's game. Why? Because Caitlin Clark, who many people who may have been the first exposure of women's basketball to many people, and maybe their first, bridge into the WNBA, they feel like they know what she's going to be. And then that's why she was the third most bet on player to win the WNBA MVP, which was shocking. Stupid. You're burning money. It's just people who don't respect the women's game. And it's really shameful that people sit up on a platform like ESPN or sit on Twitter, public figures, and say stupid and uninformed takes. And like I said, no shame, no shame to having bad opinions. Shame on you for preaching to people about those bad opinions, acting like they're fact because you say them. I don't know. Let me know what you think of the whole situation in the comments below. I'm ready to fight some people in the comments. There's going to be Caitlin Clark supporters coming in here. I don't even know if I talked about Dave Portnoy's comments on it, but he's also had some idiotic comments, and I'm sure that's going to be my thumbnail. So, him complaining about the Chicago Sky doing, hard fouls and Angel Reese fouling, and then also using homophobic terms. But Dave Portnoy's a piece of crap, and I'm not afraid to say it. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate your support on this video. Hopefully I'll be back with more content. Been kind of busy lately, but thanks for the support if you're watching till this point. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Peace out.